heroes.
Yeah. Do you mind?
What do you want to talk about?
What happened today?
Well, went straight out of Dogtown, skateboarding, surfing it up. Before I say anything else, I want to say no matter what you've done, you deserve respect. Even if you make mistakes, you're lovable. And it doesn't matter your look, skills, or age, or size, or anything. You're worthwhile. No one can ever take that away from you. Now, this stuff right here, I was driving and, I was in the passenger side of this fucker's car, and he comes over on there. He was over by the recycling center. He says, oh, when I was in the Virgin Islands, 30 years old on a business trip, I fucked this 14-year-old. I was like, you what? He's like, I raped this 14-year-old, starts crying, gives me a big hug. He's like, fucking 300-pound guy. I'm like, oh, shit. He must be fucking, man. Like, what's he talking about? I didn't take him seriously at first. He comes driving down this way. He's like, you know what? I come to realize I'm Jesus Christ, and I can do anything I fucking want to. And watch this, bam, and he smashed into this fucking guy right there, pinned him in between that fucking truck, and so I hop out, I look over, the guy's pinned there. I mean, like, freight train riders know this, like, if you get pinned between something, do not fucking move that shit, otherwise you bleed out. Like, motherfucker, I ran in, I grabbed the keys, he's fucking sitting there like nothing even happened, and like, fucking, like, man, if he started driving that car around again, man, there would've been a hell of a lot of bodies around here. Fucking, I hop on out, and so I grabbed the bag, I threw it over by that pole right there, and then fucking buddy gets out, these two women are trying to help him, he runs up and he grabs one of them, man, like a guy that big can snap a woman's neck like a pencil stick. So I fucking ran up behind him with a hatchet, smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
The lady said you saved your life.
She was the one who got grabbed by that fucker. You know what? Fuck is cool. That guy ain't shit.
How'd you get in this car? How did you?
I was hitchhiking. Good thing I was hitchhiking. Yeah, people say don't hitchhike. Well, this is what happens. Yeah, well, at least I was here.
So he did this on purpose.
Dude, that guy was fucking cooked out, man. Like, he's beyond howling. I don't even see any breath in him, you know what I'm saying?
Can I get your name and where you're from, if you don't mind?
I'm Kai.
Kai? Can I get spelled?
Straight out of Dogtown, KillAh.
Name?
No, I don't have anything.
Where are you from originally? Are you from Fresno area?
Sophia, West Virginia.
How old are you?
I can't call it.
What? Have you ever experienced anything like this? Taking actions that you did?
That woman was in danger. He just finished what looked like at the time killing somebody, and if I hadn't done that, he would kill more people. So he's dead. Good.
You ever experienced anything like that, Kai?
Well, this one time I was in an orchard, and this fucking guy starts beating on this woman who he calls his. So I walked on over and I started smashing him in the head. You see all these teeth marks right here for the camera? Yeah, I started smashing him in the head and the teeth, busted out all his teeth. Motherfucking the sheriffs, not the policy enforcers, fucking show up and start like, they're like, yeah, so what happened? I mean, like, just give me any old name and just give me old, fucking birthday, whatever, just, yeah.
What happened today after you obviously freaked out when you arrested? What was the process when they came up? Obviously, they found out that you did the right thing, but the time that from the accident until now,
well, you started following eye, like, I cleaned his motherfucking head wide open with a hatchet. He stood up like he was pooping right up, right? And like, fucking, I'm like, bro, if you're fucking Jesus Christ, I don't think the Antichrist, man, like, fuck that shit. And he starts following me off this way, so I figure I'll lure him right away from the crowd. So I'm running off this way. I got a hatchet in one hand, motherfucking, this bag I'm carrying over with another hand. I start running off that way. And so, a couple of the people who was bystanders to it came over and told me to stop. And I was like, why stop? And they're like, the cops are already on their way. I was like, is he back up and doing anything? And somebody said that he was like masturbating in front of this school or fucking whatever this place is right here. Yeah.
were you questioned by police? Were you taken into custody? What happened? I mean, obviously.
I was put into the back of the sheriff's wagon. It wasn't the policies that fucking pulled I over, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so like, I got put in the back of the sheriff's wagon. The sheriff was like, what happened here? Took down a statement. I told him everything I just told you. And fucking let me on out. Said I couldn't grab all this stuff until I had finished, like, they had finished with something, you know what I mean? And like, brought me back on over here so I could be in front of this thing, like this fucking car right here. Yeah, it's fucking gnarly, man. Holy shit. It's like the biggest wave I've ever ridden in my life.
What's next for you, Kai?
hopefully some surfing. If anybody's watching this somewhere else and they got a mini Mal that they could lend a guy with a wetsuit, I'd love to test out Mavericks.
What you doing again?
Club him in the head with a hatchet? You know, if I could go back in time, I'd go back over to where I was at that recycling center and he said that he had raped that chick over in the Virgin Islands, because it doesn't matter where you at. You can fucking just spend a bunch of money and do whatever the fuck you want, you know, that's not right. If I could go back in time, I would have dabbed him up right there.
You're not, I mean, it doesn't seem like you have any concern for yourself. You're all about, I mean, doing the right thing and not even worried about Kai first.
I don't have any family. Like, as far as anybody I grew up with is concerned, I'm already dead, so whatever.
First of all, I didn't set a red line. The world set a red line. The world set a red line when governments representing 98% of the world's population said the use of chemical weapons are abhorrent and passed a treaty forbidding their use even when countries are engaged in war. Congress set a red line when it ratified that treaty. Congress set a red line when it indicated that in a piece of legislation titled the Syria Accountability Act that some of the horrendous things that are happening on the ground there need to be answered for. And so when I said in a press conference that my calculus about what's happening in Syria would be altered by the use of chemical weapons, which the overwhelming consensus of humanity says is wrong. That wasn't something I just kind of made up. I didn't pluck it out of thin air. There's a reason for it.
Serious accusation from the Toronto Star that I use crack cocaine. I do not use crack cocaine, nor am I an addict of crack cocaine. As for a video, I cannot comment on a video that I have never seen or does not exist. It is most unfortunate, very unfortunate, that my colleagues and the great people of this city have been exposed to the fact that I have been judged by the media without any evidence. This past week has not been an easy one. It has taken a great toll on my family and my friends and the great people of Toronto. For the past week, on the advice of my solicitor, I was advised not to say a word. I want to thank the people of this great city for their outpouring of support.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
So what is it with all these men with guns around here? Have you noticed? Yeah, I've noticed them. I wonder you people decided to have them. What's your worry? I'm not worried, but you seem to not worry. What's your? I'm worried about living in a town that's full of people with guns running around in it. Are you? Have they done anything to you? Have they pushed you around or anything? They've pushed around friends of mine. Yeah. What were your friends doing? Trying to take pictures of them. Aha. Is that against the law? No, not at all. Doesn't it worry you having a town that you've got to resort to this kind of thing? It doesn't worry me. I think it's natural that if people are being abducted, that they be protected against such abduction. What would you do if a Quebec minister, another Quebec minister were abducted, or a federal minister? But isn't that one of the? Is your position that you should give in to the 7 demands of the FMQ and? Not at all. My position is completely the opposite. What is your position? My position is that you don't give in to any of them. All right. but you don't protect yourselves against the possibility of blackmail. Well, how can you protect everybody that is going to be a possible target without a much bigger military force, without putting somebody on everybody in the country, turning it into almost a police state? So what do you suggest? That would protect nobody. How can you protect them all? Well, you can't protect them all, but are you therefore arguing that you shouldn't protect any? That's right. That's your position. Right. All right, so KillAh wasn't protected and he was abducted. If you had hindsight, would you not have preferred to protect him and Mr. Cross? Well, it's second guessing is pretty easy, but you can't do it. But I'm asking you the first guess now. No, because it's impossible. Would have been impossible to protect cabinet ministers of the provincial government or diplomats? I would suspect so. With all the diplomats there are in this country? Yeah, we got a big army. Having to use it up pretty fast at this rate. What do you mean at this rate? What, 6 and 7?
You seem to be thinking this in your statement in the House this morning. You seem to be saying that you thought the press had been less than responsible in its coverage of the story so far. Could you elaborate on that?
Less than responsible. I was suggesting that I should perhaps use a bit more restraint, which you're not doing now. You're going to make a big news item of this, I'm sure.
Well, the papers
You know,
is a big news item.
Yeah, but the main thing that the FLQ is trying to gain from this is a hell of a lot of publicity for the movement. And I'm suggesting that the more recognition you give to them, the greater the victory is, and I'm not interested in giving them a victory. But well, there's surely a
proposition that perhaps it is would be wise to use less inflammatory terms than bandits when you talk about a bunch of people who have the lives of 2 men in their hands.
You don't think they're bandits?
Well, regardless of what I think, I don't think I'd be inclined to wave a red flag in their face if they held 2 of my friends or colleagues with guns at their heads.
First of all, I didn't call them bandits. I call the people who were in jail now bandits, who had been tried before the law and condemned to a prison term. And I said that you people should stop calling them political prisoners. They're not political prisoners. They're outlaws. They're criminal prisoners. They're not political prisoners. And the bandits. That's why they're in jail.
But with your army troops, you seem to be combating them as almost as though it is a war. And if it is a war, is anything that they say have validity?
Don't be silly. We're not combating it as a war, but we're using some of the army as peace agents in order that the police be more free to do their job as policemen and not spend their time guarding your friends against some form of kidnapping.
You said earlier that you wouldn't protect them in this way, but you have said before that this kind of violence, what you're fighting here, the kind of violence of the FLQ can lead to a police state.
Sure. That's what you're complaining about, isn't it? Well,
yes, but surely that decision is yours, not yours.
Yeah, but I've asked you what your own logic is. It's to let them abduct anybody, not give any protection to anyone. But call off the police. That seems to be their position.
Not call off the police. Surely the police's job is to catch people and break the law.
Yeah, but not to give protection to those citizens who might be blackmailed for one reason or another.
Which must be half the population of the country in one way or another. My life, I explained it badly, I think, but what you're talking about, to me, is choices. And my choice is to live in a society that is free and democratic, which means that you don't have people with guns running around you. And one of the things I have to give up for that choice is the fact that people like you may be kidnapped.
But this isn't my choice. No, I think it's more important to get rid of those who are committing violence against the total society and those who are trying to run the government through a parallel power by establishing their authority by kidnapping and blackmail. And I think it's our duty as a government to protect government officials and important people in our society against being used as tools in this blackmail. No, you don't agree to this, but I'm sure that, once again, with hindsight, you would have probably found it preferable if Mr. Cross and Mr. Laporte had been protected from kidnapping, which they weren't, because the steps we're taking now weren't taken. But even with your hindsight, I don't see how you can deny that.
No, I still go back to the choice that you have to make in the kind of society that you live in.
Well, there's a lot of bleeding hearts around who just don't like to see people with helmets and guns. All I can say is go on and bleed, but it's more important to keep law and order in this society than to
be worried about weak-kneed people who don't like the looks of a
At any cost? At any cost? How far would you go with that? How far would you extend that? Just watch me. At reducing civil liberties? Civil liberties? Civil liberties?